Hey, this is Manny Wolf, and I am the founder and creator of the question mark memoir method. I just want to give you a quick little insight into the processes I've developed to help you write like a pro right now. So, if you're here watching this, that means that you've already seen my question mark memoir method, which is simply put the best framework for organizing your life and your story into a memoir that I've seen anywhere. And I've seen a lot of them. It simplifies so many difficult questions that you run into during the writing process. But one thing that the question mark memoir method doesn't do by itself is teach you how to write with style and voice. Style and voice are a completely different subject. And so what I wanted to share with you was the process that I've helped hundreds now, possibly thousands, literally, of memoir writers and other people to not only organize and craft their stories, but to take all the difficult rules of English and really to reduce them down into 5 simple steps. And I mean it when I say there's 5 of them and they're simple. The first one is S. And so let me just back up and say that I teach this as the story method, STORY. And so there are 5 steps, like I said. The first one is S, and that's structure. And if you're watching this video, that means you've already learned about the structure. And the structure I use is called the question mark memoir method. It's the start with the pinnacle story and use your back history and everything that you saw in the video preceding this. But it doesn't go into how to have a compelling voice, how to make sure that when people read your memoir, they're turning the pages with excitement and curiosity and interest. And if conventional wisdom is any indication, it seems to take a lot of years to get good at voice and the sort of style side of writing. I didn't want to wait that long. And I know that most people who have it in them to try to write their book, they don't want to wait that long either. Nobody likes the idea of having to do multiple iterations just because you know you need to get better at writing. So very quickly, I'm going to give you an overview of the TORY, of the story model framework. And so if you're familiar with story arcs and plots, what they typically do, and I'm being overly simplistic here, is they start at the beginning, of course, and the drama mounts to a big climax and then a resolution. And so if you were to draw this as, let's say, a straight line, I'm grabbing a pen here, so bear with me. If you were to illustrate the typical story arc, it would be something like this. Very simple, right? You start here, the drama builds, there's a big climax down here for the resolution. Now, yes, you can do it that way, but you run the risk of having a flat, boring, uninteresting voice and rhythm and cadence. And so what I've been teaching for the last 10 years is that your plot line, if you will, should look more like this. So as you build up from the starting to the top, the ultimate climax, you should have lots of little points of, like, think of them as mini climaxes or tension, T for tension. When we create tension and then we resolve it in little ways on our way to the big tension, we get the readers on the edge of their seats. And this is great. This is what you want. You want people to be having an emotional experience while reading. And so this idea of including little points of tension and release along the way to the big one is how you do that. So then there's another thing that we typically want to, it's like an objective we have with writing a memoir. And that is to allow people to really put themselves there as we're writing, right? There are going to be moments in your story that you really want people to feel like they're inside of the moment emotionally. And so with that, I use what I call the O from the framework, STO, which stands for offer rich detail. Now, I'm going to go very quickly over this, but just understand that when you evoke the senses, taste, touch, sight, sound, and feel, that opens up people's imagination. It's like a magic golden key. If their imagination was the lock, offering rich detail is the key. And so you can choose what parts of your story you think it's appropriate to have people really kind of emotionally engage with. And for those parts, you want to strategically offer rich detail. And what I mean by that is sensory rich detail. So talk about what you saw, smelled, tasted, touched, heard, right? When you talk in terms of the senses, it allows us to step into the experience with you. So this is the way that you can choose individual points along your journey that you want people to have a deep, resonant emotional connection with. And you can strategically create that through offering rich detail. So now let's move on to the biggest one. The biggest one, because writing the book and then putting in the tension and release and offering rich detail really is all because you want the reader to be able to put themselves in your shoes, right? If the reader puts themselves in our shoes, even if they haven't experienced what we've experienced, then they empathize. And it's hard to imagine there's anything better or sort of more a higher goal for a memoir than to have the readers deeply empathize with it. We want them to feel it. We want them to really feel it. And so one of the most powerful tools that I can teach you is called revealing universals through your specifics. That's the R of the story framework. Revealing universals through your specifics. And the way we do this is we deliberately do what I call building bridges. So I'll just use me as an example here quickly. I had the strange and very surreal and in many cases very unfortunate situation in my childhood to be born into a cult. And I didn't like it. I hated it even as a little kid. But what I realized as I got older was if I just talk about being born in a cult, no one can really relate to that. Some people can, but for the most part, most people can't relate to that. But what can they relate to that I experienced? Well, things like feeling like an outsider, rejection from society, and even rejection from loved ones. These are just a couple of things that are universal, right? So my specifics are the fact that I was born in this cult and, all the challenges that came with it. But the universals are feeling like an outcast, feeling like you don't fit in, feeling like you don't have a say, all of these kind of things. And so in the writing, especially when it's an important piece of the story, you need to have the confidence to know that you can sort of connect the unique experiences that you've had to the broader experiences that all of us can relate to. I hope that makes sense. That's the overview of how to reveal universals through your specifics. And then finally, the last one, the why. I fudged it a little bit to make the acronym work, but the Y stands for yourself, and the idea is be yourself. So the Y you could say is for be yourself. And this is about how do you find your own voice, your own authenticity? And it's usually more about recognizing and stripping away the echoes of your favorite writers, your favorite influences, the people and the writings and the books that have sort of, influenced you. And so to go through that process of stripping away the influences and allowing your own voice, yourself, to emerge is the final thing that will ensure that you write a memoir that people simply can't stop reading. In my own memoir, the most common praise it got was some version of, I read this thing in 2 days, I couldn't put it down. And that's what you want, right? So if you use the question mark memoir method, the framework, and then you include the T for tension, the O for offer rich detail, the R for reveal universals, and the Y for be yourself, you basically have 5 tools there that can save you literally years of refinement and practice. I hope this has been useful to you. And before you go, I just want to tell you that you have an opportunity, if you wish, to join the question mark memoir method writing membership. So I'm going to tell you more about it right below this video. But suffice to say, it is the best way I've seen anywhere to get guidance, support, and community while you go through this deep and emotional process of writing your memoir. So don't click away, read the information below and see if it makes sense for you to check out the question mark memoir method writers membership. Okay? I hope to see you there, and I can't wait to see what you create with your memoir. Thank you so much.